Have you ever seen seamen in real life? Me personally, I love seamen so much. It's gotten to the point that everywhere I look, I see seamen. If you also love seamen, then this video is just for you. So with your I Love Seamen shirt on, let's begin the recap. The man stands at the bow of the ship. He calls upon the almighty ruler of the sea, offering 2 women as a sacrifice to protect their vessel. At his command, one of the girls is ordered to hurry and throw herself into the ocean to become the sacrifice that will spare the crew. The girl, standing at the edge, trembles in fear. She never imagined her journey would end like this. All she wanted was to meet her fiancé, nothing more. Tears blur her vision as she wonders how her life has come to such a cruel twist. Before she can speak, a girl with golden hair steps forward. Without hesitation, she urges the terrified girl to hurry, and then delivers a forceful kick. The brown-haired girl's scream is swallowed by the wind as she plummets into the churning sea. The pirates on deck freeze for a moment, startled by what just happened. Then one of them mutters in confusion, wondering aloud what in the world that was supposed to be. The golden-haired woman lets out a long sigh, almost as if relieved, and remarks that it is now her own turn. With remarkable grace, she dives in after the other girl, her form cutting through the air like a practiced diver's, her landing into the sea smooth and precise. Beneath the surface, the brown-haired girl thrashes helplessly. Is this really how she will die? Why did that woman kick her? Her thoughts scatter in terror as her strength begins to fade. But then, in the midst of darkness, a faint light blooms underwater. The golden-haired woman glides toward her, calm and unhurried, her movements too elegant to belong to any ordinary human. She raises her hand and places a shimmering barrier of air around the drowning girl's face, allowing her to breathe once more. The brown-haired girl's vision clears, and she finally sees the truth. Upon the golden-haired woman's skin, glowing faintly in the dim light, is a tattoo, the mark of a siren. When the girl awakens fully, she finds surrounded by the glimmering sea. The golden-haired siren speaks with a casual air, as though reminding them that even a mere waitress can swim well, and that in the event of a maritime accident, it is her duty to rescue passengers. Her name, she says, is Celia. The man on the ship eyes her warily, clearly suspicious of her motives. Her words about duty sound hollow, almost rehearsed. Celia, however, meets his gaze without shame, explaining that she didn't act out of compassion, but for profit. If her daring rescue is reported to the company, she could be promoted, and with that promotion, her salary would rise. The man grumbles something about her story being full of holes, but decides to accept it, at least for now. Still, he can't help but question her attire. What kind of waitress wears something like that? At his remark, Celia removes her cloak, revealing a strange, close-fitting garment beneath. She explains that it is her self-made diving suit stitched together from a torn sail she found abandoned at the harbor. The fabric is waterproof, helping her retain body heat underwater. The only downside, she admits, is that it isn't flexible, and therefore fits far too tightly. The man tells the golden-haired woman that he will return her belongings later, but first she should change into some proper clothes. His name is Rue. Before Celia can respond, the brown-haired girl beside them sneezes softly, breaking the tension. Both Sam and Celia turn toward her. The 2 of them begin walking in her direction. Celia approaches the girl with a bright, practiced smile and greets her warmly. She asks if she is all right and adds that she looks forward to working with her. Yet, as she studies the girl's expression, she notices the unmistakable fear in her eyes. Maria, yes, that is her name, seems genuinely frightened just to see her. Celia tilts her head slightly, puzzled. Did she do something wrong already? She needs to coax Maria somehow. After all, this is not just any girl. Maria is the protagonist of the novel The Duchess Who Fled the Sea. Celia knows this well. She herself was originally just a background extra in that very story, a nameless waitress destined to die early without ever being remembered. But Celia refused to accept that fate. In order to survive, no matter what it took, she saved Maria, the heroine of the tale, the noble young lady now standing before her. For the past 3 weeks, Celia has been carefully crafting a plan. The first part of that plan was to allow herself to be captured by pirates on purpose. She would then ensure that Maria was thrown into the sea and use that moment to escape with her, all the way to land. Against all odds, she succeeded. She has twisted the original storyline completely, snatching survival from the jaws of fate. Her plan is simple but brilliant. Rescue Maria, whose life was meant to end in tragedy, receive a grand reward from the male lead, one of the wealthiest men alive, and finally break free from the mastermind schemes that ensnare them all. She imagines her dream life vividly, a house with a blue roof and pure white walls, a little dog at her side, and a small boat with a triangular sail resting at the dock. She plans to buy that seaside home and hide away there until the story itself comes to its end. Just picturing it sends shivers of excitement down her spine. Ever since childhood, Celia has loved the sea. The vast, mysterious ocean, filled with wonders unseen, was her truest friend. Even after she lost her parents in an accident on her 15th birthday, the sea became the only thing that kept her going. She dreamed of diving into its deepest depths, of exploring the hidden world below the waves. She taught herself to scuba dive, dedicating her life to studying marine ecosystems. She worked endlessly to save enough money to travel to the Mediterranean, the place she believed would change her life forever. But fate, cruel as ever, intervened. A tragic accident claimed her life before she could see that dream fulfilled. And yet, by some twist of destiny, here she is, reborn within the very story she once read, at last able to live the life she always longed for, surrounded by the sea she so dearly loved. Maria hesitantly speaks, recalling the moment she fell into the ocean. She remembers being barely conscious, her thoughts fading in and out. She asks Celia about that strange light beneath the waves, that glowing bubble of air she could breathe within. Was it real? It felt like a dream pulled from a fairy tale, as if she had met a siren from legend. Celia says that it must have been nothing more than a dream. Maria had lost consciousness underwater. She must have imagined it all. If Maria were to discover that Celia had used powers bordering on something demonic, powers akin to those of Satan himself, it would be disastrous. So for now, Celia decides it's best to play it off and keep her true abilities hidden. In any case, concealing her identity remains her safest option. Maria, curious and perceptive as ever, asks if her secrecy has something to do with the Admiral. Celia immediately agrees. That's exactly right. The Admiral, the very mastermind behind the events of this story, is a man to be feared. He commands the mighty warship and leads the world's most formidable fleet, the Siren Navy. His influence reaches every corner of the seas, and his reputation is one of ruthlessness and control. In the original course of the novel, when the Admiral rescued Maria after she fell into the sea and discovered that she was of noble birth, his demeanor changed entirely. He demanded repayment for saving her, charging interest upon interest, twisting her debt until it became insurmountable. Only then did he reveal his true villainous nature. Because of that fateful encounter, Maria's life turned into a tragic and thorny path. Celia knows this well. The Admiral is often merciful to ordinary castaways, showing them a shred of humanity. If Maria were to simply pretend to be a commoner, she might be spared his manipulation entirely. Celia, trying to protect her, warns her of this truth, that the Admiral always demands repayment for any favor he gives, and that his disdain toward nobles runs especially deep. Maria, however, responds with her usual grace and stubbornness. Though she appreciates Celia's concern, she insists on revealing her identity. She doesn't know what the Admiral might demand in return, but he did ensure her safe passage aboard this warship, and she wishes to repay that debt however she can. Celia sighs inwardly. Yes, this is exactly who Maria is, a pure-blooded noblewoman through and through, proud, sincere, and unyielding. A woman who once chose a political marriage for the sake of her family's honor. Her heart is selfless, her morals unshakable. It's that very nobility of spirit that made Celia like her so much in the first place. But in this world, such virtue is dangerous. Still, Maria's determination doesn't waver. Even when Celia warns her that the Admiral might demand something outrageous, perhaps a fortune, perhaps even her freedom, Maria merely answers that she has her dowry and can use a portion of it. Her calm confidence leaves Celia exasperated. Stubborn as always, Celia thinks. She presses further, asking whether Maria would still reveal herself even if the Admiral demanded her life in return. Maria's silence speaks volumes. With a weary sigh, Celia finally gives up. She mutters that she hid her own identity to protect Maria, but even that might now backfire. Giving false testimony under military law is no small offense. Perhaps she's only made things worse. Lying back dramatically, Celia declares that she's going to sleep, and that Maria can wake her when the guillotine is ready. Her tone drips with playful despair. Even after risking her life to save someone, she laments. She can't seem to earn a single reward. Her voice trembles with mock sadness as she proclaims that her fate is simply to die unappreciated. Maria, flustered and kind-hearted as ever, immediately panics at Celia's words, her worry plain on her face. For all her frustrations, she truly does like Maria, perhaps more than she dares to admit. No, Celia cannot die just like that. As her voice weakens, she tells Maria that, should the worst come to pass, she wants to be buried by the sea. She begins to speak of death with that unsettling calmness of someone resigned to fate, but Maria cannot bear to hear it. Desperation finally overtakes her, and she pleads with Celia to stop talking about dying. She promises, exactly as Celia wishes, that if such a day ever comes, she will lay her to rest by the sea. But for now, she begs her to stay silent on such dreadful thoughts. More importantly, Maria insists that Celia tell her about her dream, the one she always speaks of so fondly. If Celia would only share it, Maria swears she will help her make it come true. Celia watches her quietly, realizing that her words are beginning to take effect. Perhaps, at last, she has managed to stir Maria's heart and draw her attention away from fear. Elsewhere, the Admiral sits alone in his dimly lit quarters, the faint glow of his pipe flickering in the shadows. A knock comes at the door. It is Sam. The Admiral allows him in. Sam urges the Admiral to turn on the lights. It is far too gloomy in here. The Admiral waves off the concern, saying he had merely been about to rest for a moment. But Sam sees through the pretense and tells him not to lie. He knows full well that the Admiral has been rereading that letter, or perhaps some report, again and again. The Admiral's gaze lingers on the document before him. The report of a pirate ship sunk by a naval vessel's attack. There were no surviving pirates, but 2 women had been rescued from the wreckage. What draws the Admiral's attention most is that one of them had been found wearing a diving suit. He turns to Sam and demands to know what exactly that means. Sam, flustered, hesitates before replying, his face reddening. The Admiral frowns at his awkwardness, remarking that his expression is revolting. Why make it sound so indecent? He repeats the question more sharply. Why would a woman need a diving suit in the first place? Sam explains that it was no ordinary attire. It was a special suit designed for underwater use. This revelation only deepens the Admiral's confusion. Where would such a thing even be obtained? Sam admits that she had not bought it at all. She had made it herself, stitching it together from discarded clothing. The Admiral stares at him incredulously. Why would a mere waitress construct such a thing? Did they even investigate her properly? Sam assures him that they did, but the woman's answers had been strange and evasive. He apologizes, offering to reinvestigate. The Admiral waves a hand dismissively. There is no need, he says. He will handle this matter personally. They will review the details as they travel. As he continues to study the reports, something in them catches his attention. The accounts describe the same suspicious woman carrying an unconscious victim and swimming several hundred meters through the open sea. It is an act of sheer strength, one that even a well-trained Navy soldier would struggle to perform. The Admiral cannot help but question again whether she is truly the waitress she claims to be. Sam repeats that those were indeed her words. Before the Admiral can reply, the door bursts open and a soldier rushes in. Breathless, he reports that Stickle has appeared again. A nearby fishing boat was attacked. Only 1 fisherman survived, and even he is in critical condition as the vessel sinks. The last recorded location of Stickle was at longitude 129 degrees, 30 minutes, and latitude 25 degrees, 10 minutes before it vanished into the deep sea. The Admiral narrows his eyes. The creature is attempting to escape underwater. One of his subordinates asks for orders. What should they do? The Admiral responds firmly that Stickle must be trying to flee while they are still preparing the lifeboats. There is no time to waste. To pursue it, they must move immediately, even if it means leaving the wounded fisherman behind. They cannot simply abandon the fisherman to die. The Admiral knows that a decision must be made, and quickly. Meanwhile, Celia and Maria become aware of a sudden commotion outside. Voices echo through the hall, urgent and distressed. When they step out to see what's happening, they are told that a fisherman has fallen into the sea. Launching a lifeboat will take at least 20 minutes. But the Admiral's orders are already clear. The Navy's immediate priority is to target Stickle. Celia freezes for a moment, calculating. 20 minutes? If the man has fallen into the sea, That means his time is limited. The waves are high and the waters are rough. No ordinary human could last that long. The situation is dire, and every passing second matters. If the Navy cannot act in time, she knows she must. Without hesitation, Celia dashes toward the shore and dives into the raging sea. Shouts rise behind her, soldiers and sailors yelling in disbelief. People cry out that she has lost her mind, that she will die out there. But she ignores them all. Celia scans the deep for any sign of the fisherman. Her eyes dart left and right through the dark water until, finally, she spots a figure drifting in the distance. She swims with all her strength toward him, her heart pounding as her magic stirs to life. A faint light glimmers around her as she manifests an oxygen tank and fins from her magic, a power she has kept hidden until now. Yes, she has awakened her magic to use it in a moment like this. 2 months ago, she had been reborn into this world, into a novel that was not her own. She had only been trying to survive, working quietly aboard a ship, when a violent storm swept her away. As the icy sea dragged her down, her will to live had begun to fade. But then she saw it, a siren, radiant as the sun itself. In that moment, her forgotten memories returned to her, memories of her past life and of the dream she once cherished, the dream of living beside the sea she loved more than anything. That dream had been lost once, buried under the futility of her first life and the emptiness of her second. But that regret became the spark that reignited her resolve to live, to fight, and to fulfill her dream no matter the cost. Drawing on that power, Celia fastens the magical oxygen tank onto the fisherman, whispering for him to hold on a little longer. Then, with one final push, she begins to swim upward, fighting the weight of the water as she drags him toward the surface. Up above, the Admiral is issuing new orders. If Stickle appears, if it targets the waitress, his men are to attack it immediately and rescue both her and the fisherman. He lowers himself into the lifeboat, joining the rescue himself. But as they draw closer to the site, something stirs within him. A strange sensation, an energy pulsing from beneath the waves. Magic. He can feel it, faint, but unmistakable. The same kind of magic as his own. The realization unsettles him. Who in the world could it be? The presence grows stronger, closer. Then, through the dark water, they finally see them, the fisherman and the woman, emerging from the sea. The crew rushes to pull them aboard. The fisherman is still breathing, barely, but alive. The Admiral reaches out to help Celia. He will pull her up, he says, his voice steady though his thoughts are anything but. As he draws her onto the boat, he catches sight of something, an intricate tattoo glowing faintly at the side of her neck. Light flickers there, delicate and dangerous all at once. He takes off his coat and wraps it around her shoulders, his gaze lingering. How can this woman, this supposed waitress, wield the same kind of magic as he does? As he wonders this, Celia's eyes shift, darting briefly to his chest. The Admiral immediately turned his head. Celia had collapsed onto the deck of the boat, her body limp and motionless. For a tense moment, he wondered if she had lost consciousness entirely. When she opened her eyes again, the world around her was blurred and hazy. Her eyelids felt unbearably heavy, her limbs weak, her head clouded with exhaustion. She blinked slowly, trying to gather her thoughts, wondering where she was. A quiet voice reached her through the haze. A man's voice, calm and steady. He told her that she was in the infirmary, and that she had been unconscious for 2 days. 2 days? Celia's thoughts spun. It must have been the toll of her magic, the continuous strain of using her power far beyond her limits. She must have simply run out of stamina. Even so, she didn't recognize the man speaking to her, though his voice was strangely pleasant to the ear, soothing, even. He went on to explain that the fisherman she had rescued had regained consciousness, but she herself would not wake up. The military doctor had diagnosed her with severe fatigue and hyperthermia. Hyperthermia? She frowned faintly. That shouldn't have been possible. Her magic should have kept her body temperature stable underwater. Then, a fleeting image passed through her mind. The stern-faced man she had seen aboard the rescue boat. She wondered if he had been the one who carried her here. The man beside her stepped closer. "Why did she save the fisherman?" he asked. Celia replies that, "Because SBD wanted to," she replied. Her tone was simple, matter-of-fact. She has a power that could save him. If she had turned away and let him die, she had have regretted it for the rest of her life. The guilt alone would have drowned her. After a brief silence, he asked, What will she do once she leave this ship? She answered that she planned to return to the passenger ship where she worked. She still needed to earn her promotion after all. The man seemed thoughtful for a moment before asking, "Is there a reason she chose to work on a passenger ship?" "Yes," she said softly. "Because she can see the sea every day." He pointed out that she could easily work near a port if that was what she wanted. Celia only smiled faintly, replying that the sea was different out here, cleaner, purer, untouched by the noise of the land. That was the sea she loved. His voice was so gentle, so warm, that she found herself speaking more than she meant to. The sound of it lulled her, her eyelids growing heavy once more. Sleep tugged at her like a tide she could no longer resist. Before she drifted off, she heard him say, almost to himself, "She loved the sea, and she have courage and sound judgment. It's a waste for someone like Hiri to stay on a passenger ship." He would like to hire he said. What does she think? She asked if he mean the Siren Army? He says yes. She shook her head weakly, managing a faint laugh. No, soldiers earn little, and they have no freedom. She don't want to enlist. Her voice faded as her eyes closed again. The man stood there in silence. The Admiral looked down at her, realizing she had fallen asleep mid-conversation. He reached out and gently removed her hat, setting it aside. She was going to tell her to think about it, he murmured quietly, but she has already fallen asleep. What a strange woman, he thought. Strange enough that he found himself wanting to keep her close, to understand her, to uncover who she truly was. 3 days later, at the bustling port, the entire Navy crew gathers to see Celia off. Soldiers line the dock, offering her words of gratitude and wishing her a safe journey. The overwhelming kindness catches her off guard. She never expected to be treated with such respect and warmth simply for saving 2 people. As she prepares to board, adjusting the strap of her worn satchel, a voice calls out for her to wait. Turning around, she finds Sam hurrying toward her. She wonders if something terrible has happened, if they have discovered Maria's true identity. Her heart beats faster as she asks him what this is about. Sam reaches into his pocket and pulls out a familiar object, her knife. He reminds her that he promised to return it once they reached port. Along with it, he hands her a small pouch of coins, travel expenses, offered as a token of gratitude for rescuing the fisherman. Celia accepts both with a polite smile, expressing her sincere thanks, though inside, an uneasy feeling begins to rise. She can sense that something isn't right, and the quicker she leaves this place, the better. She thanks him again and says that she will never forget the kindness of the Siren Navy. But before she can turn away, Sam stops her once more. His voice carries a hint of urgency as he tells her there is something important he must say. Celia hesitates, confused and tense, wondering what this could be now. Then, Sam explains, Admiral has offered her a job. For a moment, Celia freezes. Her thoughts stumble over themselves. The Admiral? The word alone brings back the faint memory of a man's voice she heard in the infirmary. Calm, deep, and composed. Could that have been him? Could the man who spoke to her while she was unconscious truly be the Admiral himself? She quickly asks if the Admiral ever came to the infirmary to see her, and Sam nods. He explains that while they have rescued many castaways before, this was the first time the Admiral personally visited someone in the infirmary. Panic starts to well up inside her. The more she hears, the more certain she becomes that getting involved with the people of this ship will only disrupt her quiet, carefully hidden life. She cannot afford to draw any more attention to herself. Not now, not ever. She must cut all ties, immediately. Without a moment's hesitation, she gives her answer. She states that she will have to decline the Admiral's offer. Her tone leaves no room for negotiation. Sam looks startled, his eyes wide with disbelief. He urges her to reconsider, explaining that if she is worried about the distance or the commute, they can provide her with a dormitory. He adds that the weekly pay would far exceed what she currently earns. Celia's refusal, however, remains resolute. She expresses her gratitude once more, making it clear that she is deeply indebted to the Admiral and the entire crew for their help, but she cannot accept. With composed finality, she asks him to convey her thanks to the Admiral and wishes that the Siren Navy may continue to receive the blessings of the gods. Sam raises his voice slightly as she turns to leave, calling after her that if she ever changes her mind, she can find them at Herbert Port. They will be stationed there for a week. How persistent, she thinks. She has already declined, yet they still refuse to let her go easily. As she walks away, she wonders what it is about her that keeps drawing their attention. Do they truly see her as some valuable recruit? Or could it be that they noticed something? A cold shiver runs down her spine at the thought. Did they somehow realize that she used magic? At the grand gates of the ducal estate, Celia peers out the carriage window. The sight alone is enough to remind her that she has entered another world entirely. She exhales softly. All she has to do now, she tells herself, is collect the compensation owed to her from the Duke, and then she will finally be free to return to her peaceful life. Beside her, Maria sits with her hands folded tightly in her lap, her gaze distant. Celia notices immediately and asks if something is troubling her. Maria hesitates before admitting her worries. Because of her sudden disappearance, she confides, she couldn't properly prepare for her wedding. Her absence must have brought shame upon her family and caused endless worry for her father, the Duke, and her parents. Her voice trembles slightly, revealing the guilt she's been trying so hard to conceal. Celia studies her quietly. Maria, who has always been gentle and selfless, never once letting her own hardships show, is now revealing a rare glimpse of her heart. The fact that she's confiding in her now can only mean one thing. This is about her relationship with the Duke. The thought makes Celia's mind wander to the story she knows so well. The Duke of this house, Herbert Russian, the male protagonist of this novel, and the Navy's rival in politics and power. In the tale, Maria and the Duke fell in love at first sight, but neither ever confessed their feelings. Maria, bound by her noble pride, believed that a man as dignified as the Duke could never love a woman like her, whose family's prestige was her only merit. The Duke, on the other hand, doubted his own worth, thinking Maria would never choose someone tainted by commoner blood. Their mutual misunderstanding led to a loveless, unhappy marriage, their bond gradually eroded by distance and miscommunication. Celia sighs inwardly. If things go according to the novel, she thinks, they'll both end up miserable. She can't let that happen, not after everything. Trying to lift Maria's spirits, Celia leans closer and asks why she's so worried about the Duke's opinion. The answer, she says with a knowing smile, is obvious. Maria cares deeply about him. Maria blushes, her composure slipping for a moment. Celia chuckles softly and proposes a little wager to ease the tension. She will bet, she declares playfully, that the Duke loves her unconditionally. Celia grins. Deal. Loser gets a flick on the forehead from the winner. As they approach the grand front steps of the mansion, Celia silently hopes the story will take a happier turn this time. Please, she thinks, let the protagonist she saved find her happiness. Standing at the center of the mansion, it is Maria, the Duke himself. Herbert Russian comes to her. His usually composed demeanor falters for an instant as his eyes find Maria. Relief washes over his face, and the weight he has been carrying visibly melts away. Thank goodness, he murmurs, that she is safe. Maria lowers her head, guilt flickering in her eyes. She is sorry, she says gently, for worrying him. They look at each other for a long, wordless moment, their eyes reflecting all the emotions they've been too afraid to speak aloud. To Celia, the air between them practically shimmers. She can't help but smile to herself, triumphant. Clearly, she has won their little wager. Her matchmaking instincts are proving far too effective for her own good, but even so, she feels a quiet pride stirring in her chest. Later, when the Duke turns his attention to her, his expression regains its usual composure. He summarizes that she wished to purchase an isolated property, and Celia quickly affirms it. Yes, yes, she says with enthusiasm. A Mediterranean-style seaside house. That's her dream. The Duke raises an eyebrow. Montana, of all places? He asks. Of course, Celia replies lightly. The sea there is clear and beautiful. He studies her for a moment, then frowns slightly, his tone softening. But isn't it dangerous to live alone, without family nearby? Celia waves off his concern with a cheerful shrug. No problem. As long as the sea's there, she will be fine. The Duke sighs, half exasperated and half amused. She truly do love the sea that much, don't she? Celia, with a bright smile, readily agrees that of course she would love to join them. The Duke, however, remains quietly uncertain, wondering if it is truly wise to get close to such a woman. Before he can voice his hesitation, Maria steps forward and speaks up with genuine warmth, reminding him that Celia is the very person who saved her life. Because of that, Maria wishes to help young people like Celia achieve their dreams, people who show courage and kindness even in dire circumstances. The Duke reflects for a moment, realizing she is right. If it had not been for that madman obsessed with the sea, Maria would not be standing here safely today. At last, he makes his decision. He tells Celia that he will support her so that she may purchase the home she desires. However, he adds one firm condition. Everything that happened with Maria must remain an absolute secret. Since Maria is soon to be his wife, any rumor about her being captured by pirates would become a scandal among the nobles. He will not allow her to be the subject of cruel gossip. Celia reassures him that she understands completely and will protect the lady's dignity. The Duke, satisfied, gives her a generous amount of money, enough to buy a comfortable home for herself and still have plenty left over. The sight of such a fortune leaves Celia speechless for a moment, her heart brimming with joy. The Duke watches her expression and can't help but think that she truly must be a madwoman, to look so delighted at something so simple. Then, Maria steps forward once more. She tells Celia that she has a small token of gratitude to offer. In her hands lies a blue diamond, glimmering like the heart of the sea. She wishes for Celia to use it to fulfill her dreams. The jewel is so beautiful that it almost looks like a wedding gift, and Celia hesitates, unsure if it is really proper for her to accept something so precious. After a moment's thought, she decides to take it as a reward for her hard work and assures Maria that she will put it to good use. Maria's eyes soften as she smiles, asking her to use it well, to turn her dream into reality. For Celia, the gesture feels deeply moving. She senses that she is growing closer to Maria with every passing moment, and the happiness that fills her heart is overwhelming. It feels, she thinks with quiet amusement, like the joy of a devoted fan finally winning the approval of her idol. The scene shifts to the Admiral. He sits at his desk, gazing at Celia's profile in a photograph or file report. A woman like her, capable of wielding magic, talented, courageous, and possessing a deep love for the sea, is rare indeed. He cannot help but wonder who she truly is beneath that calm and lively exterior. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierces through his head, and a warm trickle of blood runs down from his nose. He mutters in frustration, cursing the headache that has returned, and before he can steady himself, his vision blurs. He collapses unconscious, and the sound of hurried footsteps fills the room as someone rushes to carry him to the infirmary. The next day, Sam stands before the Admiral, concern etched across his face. He insists that the Admiral is not well enough to resume his duties and questions whether the reports truly need to be discussed now. But the Admiral, stubborn as always, insists that he feels better after a short rest and orders him to proceed. Sam snaps back in frustration, reminding him that he has already exceeded his designated recovery period by half a year. If this continues, it could become truly dangerous. The Admiral's cold glare silences him instantly, making it clear that there will be no further argument. Reluctantly, Sam begins his report. He states that 20 years ago, Celia's family fell into ruin because of her grandfather's gambling and criminal debts. Left an orphan, she grew up under the care of a disreputable uncle, who squandered what little remained of their inheritance. Not only did this man take all of Celia's earnings, but he also used her salary to fund his own illegal dealings. While the uncle enjoys a comfortable life in an upper-class residential district, Celia lives in a cramped attic in the slums near the port. The Admiral listens in silence. After a long pause, he concludes that they should re-employ Celia, but only on the condition that she be provided with a proper room in a safe environment. Sam, still puzzled, finally dares to ask the question on his mind. Why is the Admiral going to such lengths for this woman? It seems so unlike him. The Admiral does not answer immediately, and the question lingers in the air like a secret waiting to be revealed. Sam quietly assumes that the Admiral's strange concern for Celia might be because she uses the same kind of magic as he does. The Admiral gives a curt nod in confirmation. In a world where magic users are exceedingly rare, their existence must be hidden at all costs. If word ever spread, those in power would stop at nothing to capture them, exploit their abilities, or eliminate them altogether to preserve their control. Such power would never be allowed to exist freely. It's a dangerous reality, and though he frames his reasoning as a strategic necessity, in truth, it serves as a convenient excuse to protect Celia. Sam acknowledges the explanation with a subtle nod, and then mentions that there is another matter to report. He reveals that the castaway whom Celia rescued turned out to be none other than the Duke's fiancée. For her efforts, Celia received substantial compensation from the Duke himself. The Admiral lets out a low, humorless scoff, finding the situation both ironic and frustrating. If he had known earlier that the castaway was connected to the Duke, it could have been used to smooth over the long-standing territorial dispute between them. Now, that opportunity has slipped away, and he decides that Celia will have to make up for this lost advantage herself. Without hesitation, he orders Sam to locate Celia immediately and bring her to him. Meanwhile, in another corner of the city, Celia has already packed her few belongings. Everything is neatly arranged, ready for her departure. The air in her small attic room feels suffocating, heavy with the stale scent of the slums. She tells herself that once she pays this week's overdue rent, she can finally leave this miserable place behind. But just as she is about to step out, a coarse voice echoes through the narrow corridor. Someone shouts angrily, demanding to know where she thinks she's going. It's her landlord, drunk again, as usual. He staggers toward her, reeking of alcohol, and sneers that she's a pathetic orphan running away without paying rent that's already a week overdue. His words cut deep, but Celia has heard such insults too many times before to even flinch. When she doesn't respond, his tone turns darker. He glares at her with bloodshot eyes and demands to know why she's looking at him like that. Does she want to die? With a sudden burst of anger, he hurls an empty bottle in her direction. It shatters against the wall near her head, and she stares at him in disbelief. To think she could have been seriously hurt over something as trivial as a week's rent. It's absurd. For a moment, Celia wonders whether it's this cursed slum that drives people mad, or simply this man himself. Either way, she's done tolerating it. Her patience snaps. She steps forward, her eyes blazing, and delivers a sharp, powerful kick that sends the drunken man crashing backward. He collapses with a groan, utterly stunned. Celia, still composed, tells him coldly that she will pay what she owes, and demands to know how much of her deposit remains. The man stares at her blankly, trembling, unable to respond. Celia narrows her eyes, scoffs at his silence, and grabs a nearby kettle. Without hesitation, she splashes the remaining hot water over his bald head. He yelps in pain and stammers out that there are 10 pounds left in the deposit. Celia tosses a few coins onto his face with disdain, telling him that the overdue rent is now deducted from that amount. She asks one last time if there is anything else left unsettled between them. When he shakes his head quickly, she nods and declares that in that case, there are no remaining debts or issues between them. She bids farewell to the miserable place and to this man who has tormented her for so long. As she walks away, she glances back once, thinking with a smirk that perhaps his cruelty stemmed from the misery of his own baldness. Either way, with her accumulated resentment finally released, she feels lighter, almost free. At least he won't have the courage to harass anyone else for a while. With her heart set on a new beginning, Celia steps out into the cold evening air. She decides that she'll stay at a nearby hotel for the night, and tomorrow she'll leave this city behind for good, toward the place where her true future awaits. As Celia walks down the narrow cobblestone street, her eyes drift toward a small shop window. Behind the misty glass, she spots a delicate sculpture of a siren, a beautiful being with the upper body of a woman and the shimmering tail of a fish. A soft smile spreads across her face. From inside, an elderly woman notices her lingering gaze and calls out that the shop is already closed for the day. Celia quickly apologizes, explaining that she was only admiring the display. The old woman chuckles, waving a dismissive hand, and tells her it's all right. But as she steps forward to lock the door, her foot catches on a loose stone and she stumbles. Celia reacts instinctively, rushing forward to catch her before she falls. The woman steadies herself, startled, then laughs in relief and gratitude. She thanks Celia warmly, her wrinkled eyes kind and bright. Then, noticing the way Celia keeps glancing back at the siren figurine, she asks if the young woman likes sirens so much. Celia admits that she does, that she loves them second only to whales. She recalls how ancient sailors used to say that seeing a siren was a sign of good fortune, a promise of safe passage and calm seas. Though the world now believes sirens have vanished, she likes to think they might still be alive somewhere, deep in the heart of the ocean. The old woman smiles at her words, her expression soft with fondness. From a small velvet box, she takes out a silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a siren's tail. She presses it into Celia's hand, saying that if she carries this symbol, good fortune will surely follow her, just as it did for sailors in the old days. Celia hesitates, unsure if she should accept such a gift from a stranger. But the woman insists with gentle firmness, saying it's simply a token of thanks for catching her earlier. Touched, Celia accepts it, slipping the necklace around her neck. The charm glints faintly under the evening light. She thanks the old woman with a bright smile, feeling a quiet sense of optimism rising in her heart. For some reason, she feels that something wonderful might truly be waiting ahead. Indeed, the next morning, the rain pours relentlessly. Celia sits by the window of her small hotel room, watching the sheets of water lash against the glass. She sighs, wondering if this is the good fortune the siren was supposed to bring. With weather like this, it's impossible for the passenger ship to depart. She frowns at the gray horizon, frustrated that even nature seems to conspire against her plans. But after a moment, she shakes her head and laughs to herself. Since she can't leave, she might as well enjoy the delay. She decides to treat herself. After all, she's worked hard and deserves something special to lift her spirits. Later, we find her at a grand hotel banquet hall, crowded with people. The air hums with conversation and the clinking of glasses. Perhaps because of the rain, or perhaps because of the famous performer appearing tonight, the place is far busier than usual. Celia scans the room and quickly notices that most of the guests are couples, finely dressed nobles, and their partners gathered around candlelit tables. For a fleeting moment, she wonders why that even bothers her. She doesn't need anyone to enjoy herself. When the performance begins, the music sweeps through the hall like a tide. The performer's voice is exquisite, and Celia finds herself completely captivated. The melody stirs something in her heart, wrapping her in a quiet comfort she didn't know she needed. For the first time in a long while, she feels truly at peace. Then, from somewhere behind her, she hears a familiar voice. Someone murmurs in disbelief that they can't believe who they've just spotted in the same hotel. Celia turns instinctively toward the sound and freezes. Her eyes meet a man's gaze. The man standing before her is strikingly handsome, knowing smile, and asks if he may join her. Celia stares at him in confusion, her mind spinning. Who is this man, this impossibly handsome stranger, and how does he know her? He sits calmly, saying nothing more, but the familiarity in his face unsettles her. She studies him carefully, certain she has never met anyone like him before. A man like this, she thinks, is impossible to forget. His face seems carved from memory itself, yet she can't place where she's seen it. A strange feeling of déjà vu begins to gnaw at her. She tilts her head, her curiosity getting the better of her, and finally asks if they've met somewhere before. The man's lips curve into a faint smirk as he replies that if they're counting, this is actually their third encounter. The first was on the rescue boat, the second in the infirmary. Celia freezes, her breath catching in her throat. The realization hits her like lightning. This man, sitting calmly across from her, is the Admiral. And just like that, everything around her seems to fade into silence. The Admiral tells her that he has heard about her visit to the Duke's estate, and suspects that she conspired with the Duke's fiancée to deceive him. From the sharp glint in his eyes, Celia can tell he knows everything about the situation with Maria. He goes on to say that because she kept Maria's identity completely hidden, he has suffered a great loss. Celia cannot understand what he means by that. In her mind, if she had not hidden Maria's identity, the Admiral would have taken Maria hostage, just like in the novel, and used her to blackmail the Duke, gaining the upper hand in the territorial waters dispute. Yet now, he has the audacity to call that a loss. Given his personality, there is no way he would let someone who caused him such a loss go unpunished. The thought makes Celia uneasy. She wonders what she should do and whether she should try to run. Before she can decide, the Admiral continues, saying that perhaps they could simply forget that this ever happened, and that he wishes to offer her a proposal. Celia inwardly groans. She wants nothing more to do with him, and has no interest in hearing about whatever scheme he has in mind. Yet she knows that if she refuses to listen, he will not leave her alone. He will keep chasing and harassing her, and if that happens, her plans for a peaceful, happy life in Montana will all go up in smoke. For now, the best course is to at least hear him out, and then decide what to do. Running away will not solve anything. When she asks what the proposal is, the Admiral explains that his family, the Silence, would like to hire her, and that if she agrees to work closely with him, he will consider the loss she caused to be settled. Celia immediately realizes what this means. If she accepts, she will have to board a warship or travel to the capital, and in either case, her dream of living quietly in Montana will vanish. She cannot understand why he would go to such lengths just to hire her, and asks him as much. The Admiral only replies that he cannot answer that here. When she presses further and asks what he means by working closely, he replies that it is exactly as it sounds. She would only need to stay by his side while doing whatever she pleases. Celia is completely baffled. She cannot understand why this man is so persistent. Half in disbelief, she wonders aloud what would happen if she chose to be a, quote, sea loafer. The Admiral seems puzzled by the term, so she elaborates that it means someone who does absolutely nothing, just eats and sleeps all day. Her dream, she says, is to live a carefree life by the sea, lying on the shore like a seal, patting her stomach, and collecting her weekly pay right on time. She tells him that she is a hopeless case, beyond saving, and that he should give up and leave her alone. But the Admiral calmly says that he will allow it. Celia blinks at him, convinced that he must be delirious. He looks pale, unwell, and not entirely in his right mind. Does he even realize what he's saying? The Admiral, however, continues speaking as if nothing is strange, remarking that this is the first time he has ever heard of a sea seal. Celia feels a headache coming on. At this rate, the conversation will drag on forever. She leans forward slightly, deciding that if he cannot speak freely because of the location, then she will simply get closer. She asks him to at least tell her a little about why he wants to hire her. After a pause, he admits that the pain he constantly feels becomes less severe when he is near her, and that she smells faintly of lemons. Celia immediately sniffs herself, mortified, wondering if he means that she smells bad. The Admiral sighs and clarifies that that is not what he meant at all. Just then, the maid arrives with the cheesecake Celia had ordered earlier. The Admiral watches as it is placed before her and asks if she likes cheesecake. Celia answers that she does, and he remarks, in that cool and matter-of-fact tone of his, that in that case, he will have to provide an unlimited supply of cheesecake as part of her employment. The maid blushes, clearly finding the Admiral handsome, while other patrons in the cafe begin to whisper among themselves. They recognize him instantly, the famed Admiral of the Siren Navy, and wonder who the mysterious young woman sitting with him could possibly be. Returning to the main subject, the Admiral tells her that he is willing to pay her 4 times the standard weekly wage and provide comfortable lodging in a secure place. He would like to hire her under these conditions, but he asks if there are any additional terms she might wish to include. Celia, however, does not want money or comfort. She wants freedom. The offer sounds far too generous, and that alone makes her suspicious. One thing she has learned from experience is that there is no such thing as a free lunch. Any job that is easy, comfortable, and pays excessively well is either illegal or a scam. The fact that he is so eager to hire her can only mean one thing: he must be interested in her magic. In the worst case, he might even plan to use her as a test subject for his magical research. The thought sends a chill down her spine. Determined, she tells him firmly that she has absolutely no intention of working for the Silent family. The Admiral looks genuinely surprised and asks if she has any particular reason for refusing such excellent terms. Celia explains that she simply feels more comfortable on her own and has no desire to be tied down to any position. He studies her quietly for a moment before asking what she would do if he were to hire her personally instead. She shakes her head immediately. Even then, she says, he is a famous public figure, constantly surrounded by people. She would rather decline than live under such scrutiny. The Admiral is about to reply, perhaps to persuade her further, when he suddenly winces and presses a hand to his temple. His head begins to throb sharply, and at the same moment, Celia hears a strange, low sound echoing nearby. She freezes, uncertain if it came from the hallway or somewhere else. It doesn't sound like a normal noise. She rushes toward the Admiral, asking if he is all right. Through gritted teeth, he mutters that it's a gas explosion. The engines, he explains, are fragile and can rupture from even a small shock. Celia's eyes widen as she wonders whether it was caused by the storm raging outside. Within moments, the sound of alarmed voices fills the air. Flames flicker in the corridor, and people begin to panic. The Admiral immediately orders everyone to evacuate, but the situation grows dire. There are still workers trapped in the boiler room, and the wind and rain outside are too strong to venture far. Smoke begins to thicken, the storm howls against the windows, and Celia realizes with dread that this peaceful cafe meeting has turned into yet another disaster. The wall collapses with a deafening roar as the gas engine erupts in a violent explosion. Celia shields her face from the blast of heat and debris, her heart hammering wildly. She can barely comprehend what is happening. Flames lick the walls, Smoke fills the air, and people are shouting all around her. 4 workers are still trapped inside the boiler room, and chaos has completely overtaken the place. The admiral immediately takes command of the situation, his voice cutting through the panic. He orders everyone else to evacuate to the lobby, while he himself goes in to rescue the people still inside. Even though he looks unwell and is clearly in pain, he steps forward without hesitation. Celia stares at him, momentarily frozen. Wasn't this man supposed to be the merciless villain of the story? Yet here he is, risking his life for strangers without a second thought. Everyone scrambles to follow his orders, and amid the confusion, Celia realizes something else. The admiral will not be able to chase her right now. With a storm raging outside and a gas explosion inside, no one would even notice if she slipped out of the hotel. It is the perfect chance to escape. Freedom is only a few steps away, but as she looks around at the chaos, the smoke, the shouts, the terrified faces, her heart tightens. Is it really right for her to run away while others are fighting to save lives?